Hello, everyone. It's Michael Jacob with Unleashing Intuition Secrets, joined once again by attorney Peter Ticktin, who is the founder and senior managing partner of the Ticktin Law Group, www.legalbrains.com. With decades of courtroom experience, he has handled cases at both the state and federal levels. Mr. Ticktin has known President Donald J. Trump since the two were 16 years old, and they have remained close friends throughout their lives. He authored the book, What Makes Trump Tick, which details the truth about his long history with President Trump. Peter Ticktin possesses extensive knowledge regarding Donald J. Trump's legal case against Hillary Clinton and continues to be actively involved in high-profile legal battles. His work includes a defamation case against the Boston Globe, a voter fraud matter involving Tina Peters, who we just saw recently. So he's doing great. So congratulations on that victory, and efforts to seek justice for the January 6th community. He is also advocating for Joby Weeks, who we had on also, a Bitcoin pioneer and crypto figure who, according to Ticktin, was denied due process, bail, and a speedy trial. Mr. Ticktin, thanks so much for coming on again.
It's my pleasure. It's good to be here.
Yeah, I saw you speak at the Fraud Fighter event and fantastic stage presence. Good job.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah. So we had Tina Peters come on stage. Congratulations. That was a great victory, getting her, out of jail. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I think we played it just right. I mean, you have to, we had to deal with Governor Polis, and we used some outside counsel to help communicate between Polis and others. But basically, you got to play it just right. It's a carrot and a stick kind of situation. If you use too much stick, then they're not going to go your way. If you use too much carrot, they're not going to go. You got it. It was just played beautifully.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm sure she's very happy. She seemed very happy. I was surprised how healthy she looked. So must have some good help, once she got out of prison, unfortunately, to get somebody to, look at her and get her back up to speed.
Yeah. Well, she's not all there yet. I mean, she's coming back, and
Yeah,
you
I
can
can
see it.
imagine.
Yeah, but the first 2 weeks were the most dramatic in terms of even her voice changed slightly. I talked to her so much before that I can tell the difference from before and after.
Hmm.
A little bit more youth and vigor in her voice.
Yeah, I bet. Wow, man, must be after being in prison for that length of time and not knowing if you're ever gonna. Well, she was gonna get out eventually, but for years they were gonna have her in there. So First Amendment, you just won another case, a First Amendment case, which all of us that are podcasters are very happy about that. Tell us a little bit about that one.
Okay, so that's Joe Altman. Uh, Joe Altman is being sued by Eric Coomer, who for libel. And the way I look at it, I don't think that the guy is a term called libel proof.
Hmm.
What it means is that your reputation is so terrible that nobody can actually harm it any further. And this guy Coomer, who worked for Dominion Machines, he's up there in terms of his abilities and intellect, in terms of programming and making sure these machines are able to, fix the vote. But and by fix I mean broken, kind of like when you fix a dog. Uh, but the uh, when I talk about his reputation, I'm talking about a guy who proudly sent a letter to his sadomasochist group, um, bragging about how he urinates on his wife, and he pulls on her nipple rings and makes her bark like a dog. And if she doesn't bark loud enough, he tells her, "Bark like you mean it."
Mm.
And this guy is suing for defamation.
Wow.
Okay. And meanwhile, while the lawsuit was going on and is going on regarding the defamation suit, they brought another charge against him in another case where they basically attempted to get a an order against him to restrain him
Hmm.
from being within so many feet and so on, the kind of thing you get for domestic violence.
Right.
So the fact is, he was never violent, and he never actually threatened violence. What he talked about on his podcast was the which I agree with him that Eric Kuma deserves the death sentence,
Wow.
but not privately. He deserves to be tried, and he should be found guilty of treason because that's what this man is. Anyone who's been participating in the insurgency of taking over the election process, anyone who's been participating in that, whether they're judges or whether they're people working for Dominion machines, or it doesn't make any difference. If they're acting in such a way that they're committing treason, then they should be tried for that. Now, our DOJ is not pursuing any of it. And
Hmm.
that's what's really crazy. They go after us and they go after our people that are not breaking the law and that are doing decent things because they're MAGA.
Right.
So they target us, and we're so afraid to target them that we've lost our manhood in terms of what we're able to do. We're just weak. I mean, these people are I mean, we know who they are. We're the people that planned January 6th, for instance. you know, that's why I challenged Todd Blanche, prosecute these people that were laying out in our complaint on the January 6th complaints. That that's not what they're interested in, which I just can't even understand. And then they prosecute cases that was started under Biden that are against our people, and they still go ahead with those. So it's a mystery to me how they do all this.
Well, they've learned to shield themselves, from us. It's supposed to be we have the rights to, petition them and call them out, but they've built a shield around themselves to keep us from actually interfering in their treasonous actions. Yeah,
Some
it'd be
advice.
great to see you as Attorney General. So,
Well, I did what I could to get that position, but
right.
that it wasn't going to happen. It wasn't in the cards because I think Todd Blanche was told if he starts getting these things done, he'll get the position, and he started getting them done.
Good.
Now I hope he doesn't stop.
Yes. And he's got the political verbiage right. You're just call it out. I love the way you just call it out. I mean, it's like, yeah, they should be tried for treason. And you don't have someone at that position usually that will call that kind of stuff out because you got to get Democrats and Republicans that are kind of like barely Republicans, vote you in. So you have to have the political correctness voice, and you
Right.
are basically the politically correct for the American people. So I don't know how we get back to that, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I have the advantage of not being part of the government. I'm a private citizen, so as far as I'm concerned, I outrank them all.
You do.
Yeah,
Both of us do. Yeah, really.
they work for me. I pay their salaries.
Absolutely.
Right? And they work for you the same.
Yeah.
So we're free. We can say whatever we want. We can't get fired.
Brilliant. Yeah, very good. So I have another guy that's been on my show. It's Eric Holt. He's also in Colorado. Colorado seems to be having some problems with the First Amendment and so forth, and the election process. So he was a fire chief in this one county, and they came in and used his fire station to vote, and he had uh, video during the time frame because that's the way the station's set up. And he went back and he noticed that there were some problems with the election process. The people that were voted in had people coming in over and over again, and they were messing with the ballots and so forth. So he called that out, and they said, "You don't have First Amendment rights to even speak out about this." So he took him to court, and the District of Colorado, shot him down. Said, "Yeah, you don't have First Amendment rights." So it's kind of like what we're talking about.
How
They're
could he not?
shielding
How could he
themselves
not
against
have
it.
first? Oh, because he's an employee and I don't
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, so they said that they dismissed it because he was the fire chief, and that was part of his salary or something. So he didn't have, First Amendment rights, which is sounds ridiculous to me. All of us do, no matter where you're at and what station. It just shows, how far-reaching the election fraud is in Colorado.
Colorado is a captured state. See, this is
Yeah.
what happens once the voting is secured. Once the election process is overcome, let's put it that way.
Hmm.
Then the next thing that you start seeing is abuse of power, ridiculous positions, because nobody has to be going along with what the majority of the people are going to want anymore if you've got the election process beat. And that's what this is all about. And what happens is the first thing you lose is your freedoms. You lose your freedom of speech. People have no idea how much that's ingrained and taken for granted. I mean, speech is words, and words are labels for concepts. So when you start losing your freedom of speech, you start losing your freedom of thought.
No.
So, like for instance, if I talk to you now and start talking to you about the color blue, okay, now I bring that to mind without me mentioning it. I didn't bring it to mind. But I did. Then I could put it together with something that you're not used to seeing, like a blue owl. Now you got a whole new concept of something that never existed before.
Hmm.
And so what we do is the more we're able to think, the more we're able to invent. The United States is only 4% of the population of the world. And yet we've got, 25% of the GNP, 27% of the GNP of the
Wow.
world, right? We've got more inventions than, I'm not sure where we are in terms of that, but we're probably what, about 50% of the inventions in the world.
Hmm.
I mean, we've got all of this because of the freedom of speech. Because once it's curtailed and you're not allowed to talk about something, then you absolutely stop thinking about those things. And you look at, the United Kingdom right now, the UK, they're arresting 30 to 50 people every single day
Mm.
for what they write on the internet. I mean, there's a story about, I can't swear that it's true because it was passed on to me. I didn't see it from a great source, but I heard it from a couple of ways, so it's probably true that there was a woman that was raped, uh, and she got on the internet and spoke about this Islamist that raped her, and she got more time for what she said than what he got for raping her.
Goodness. Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're backwards.
yeah, it's getting to be crazy. And this kind of craziness only comes when the election system is taken over or where somebody takes over as a despot altogether. And that's what we're facing. And that's we're the last ones left. Believe me, Australia's gone, Canada's gone, the UK is gone, most of Europe is gone.
Mm.
I mean, there are a few other places left. I mean, there's the Dominion Republic, there's Costa Rica, there's places where you can still speak your mind. But, once once the US goes, it's all going to go. And the world, this is the 1,000 years of darkness that President Reagan spoke of where we're going to go.
Mm. Yeah. So you're right. The election is very key, and we're seeing that's being compromised in a lot of different areas. What do you see happening going forward? Are we going to get the Save America Act passed and be able to have good elections, or is that not going to happen? I
Well,
and many other people have said that we might not see this midterm. They might have to get pushed because of fraud.
Well, it could happen. And frankly, I mean, I know it's in the, it's all over the place, apparently. CNN started it, Newsweek picked it up. Everybody's saying the story of what I spoke to the president about last week, uh, because they know that this is something that is of a concern to me. And they put two and two together and they ended up with 16, not with four. They just assume that I'm going to talk to the president about uh, taking over the elections and declaring an emergency and so on. But it doesn't work that way with the president. There's he's the president of the United States. I don't get to just say anything I want to say. I mean, he controls conversations, number one. Number two, I was there as the attorney for Tina Peters. She was the real invitee. I was just tagging along, because, I wanted to see my old friend as well. I do know Donald Trump for a long time. And, for 65 years, that's a long time.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And
And
so,
yeah,
so
he was
I
pushing
was,
hard for Tina Peters' release, and through your, like you were just talking about, your expertise and finesse, you were able to finally get her out because that was I was surprised they even let her out. So fantastic job.
yeah. Well, we did have one other fellow that was doing a little bit of shuttle the diplomacy and so on. We were, we were a team.
Tag
And,
team. Yeah, good.
and uh, I played my end of it, and I think I did it right to not interfere with the progress that was being made by others. But I can't like take credit and I got her out. I mean, I can't do that because,
Right.
geez, John Case did more than I did in terms of that. But it's a team effort.
Very good. So you've been to you talk about Canada is kind of pretty much gone. I agree with you, unfortunately. Hopefully we can get Edmonton to like break free or something. But as far you've I guess you've lived in Canada and worked as attorney up there and worked in their Supreme Court and so forth and passed some stuff. Where do you see, these other countries like you were talking about? Can we have an impact on them going forward, helping them?
Well, I'm with you. I'm hoping that Alberta succeeds out
Yeah.
of Canada and comes to be part of the U.S. That would be a cat's meow.
Okay.
That would be a coup. Uh, also the Saskatchewan, Manitoba, they might want to come over and rural British Columbia. I don't think Vancouver would be part of it, but the rest of British Columbia is more conservative. So, I'm not sure what's going to happen, but Alberta's the one we need. I mean, that's where you've got the oil sands and,
Yeah.
well, your oil production coming from there. So, that's the rich province. They're the ones that are supporting the others and just giving it all up, and they're getting sick of it.
Yeah.
Especially, when you've got this, you know, uh, leftist crazy type of DEI woke mentality government that's making them do things that are just against the way they stand against their characters. And, it it it's getting very weird. I mean, this is the way you take over a country and bring in communism.
Right.
You do it piece by piece, and you convert the institutions into straying far away from the obvious and good values that the country would have. And that's why you have to ask yourself, why are they so pushing in terms of having children change their sex? I mean, it's all over the place that they're doing this kind of thing. But why? How does that help them become a communist? How does that help their effort? It does, because it undermines who you are and what you are and your strength of character.
Hmm.
You know.
Yeah, I heard President Trump talking at the NATO meeting. He talked about communism and how it's starting to infiltrate America too. We're seeing it in New York, in Seattle. kind of LA. So these communists are basically starting to come in a big way. He said that the threat of communism here in America is one of the greatest threats we've ever gone through. You know, World War I, World War II, 9/11, Pearl Harbor. He said this is one of the greatest threats to America. What do you think?
It is. He's absolutely right. And not only that, but we've had foreign countries that are interfering with our election uh, system. You know, you've got China is making the machines. You know, you got Venezuela, who was basically programming and having the Serbians also help with the program of these machines to be able to manipulate the election results in 72 different countries,
Hmm.
including the United States as being one of the 72. So if you want to know what's going on in the world, just understand that all these countries are losing their ability to have free and fair elections.
Hmm.
And you know, so
I mean,
you
this
know,
has never worked. I can't imagine how people think this time's going to be different. It's like it's crazy.
well, I think a long time ago they infiltrated our school system. They control it now from K all the way through higher education.
Hmm.
And what are they teaching these people? They're teaching them all these things that are just wonderful. Uh, every no one will have anything, and everyone will be happy. Okay, which is absolutely not the way it works.
Yep.
That's just a crazy concept that, and you know, when I was younger, I kind of enjoyed listening to John Lennon sing Imagine. You know, it's a beautiful song. But imagine there's no religion, nothing above us, only sky.
Hmm.
No, nothing to live for and nothing to die for. I, I don't think I can live that way.
Yeah, me most Americans as well, and that's why I think we're rebelling. We're pushing back. It's working really well. I think that we've been very calm and cool as Americans. In the past, we just had the 250th celebration revolution, so we have pushed back on a lot of this stuff in the past, but we have been very cool, I think. Myself, former Navy SEAL, CIA for 35 years, and I, fought for our country for all that time, and I thought I was keeping all that away from us. And now I'm seeing that we've been infiltrated horribly. So there is, a lot of people that are waking up to, how far we've gone. But I think we're coming back. I think a lot of people are starting to appreciate America again. Even Europeans that are visiting us for the FIFA, they're saying, "Wow, we didn't realize America was so great. We've been told that it's horrible here, but we're loving it." So, people are starting to see a difference. So I think that's good.
Well, that's all because of Donald Trump. I mean, if God help us, if
I agree.
anything ever should happen to him, I mean, our gooses are cooked. There's nobody. Maybe Vance could step up and maybe he could get the country behind him. But right now, at the best, we're only getting half the country behind us. Uh, Although these figures are really nonsense as well. Like, you know, you can't believe the polls. You can't believe any of these things because they're all part of the cabal. They're all part of what's trying to take us over. And they're all connected. Everything is connected. Tina Peters has to deal with election fraud. J6 was planned in advance by the left and by other countries, to break the windows, go into the building, get to the doors, open the doors, and usher the protesters in. That wasn't something that happened spontaneously. And I mean, do you think 274 FBI agents and confidential informants and so on all congregated there just spontaneously
Mm.
that day, taking their roles of pushing people into the Capitol building? It didn't happen that way. That was a psyop,
Yeah.
and it was you indicated your background, so the way I look at it is this: when you have a new technology come out, right? Like the iPhone is a perfect example. All right. You get people that are called by business people. This is there's a term for them, the ones that buy early. Those are called early adopters. They will adopt that technology and bring it into their lives. They then take their phone. If they're the ones who first bought the iPhone, they took it to the office. They showed everybody else the office. Oh my God, that's great. I got to get one. So that's how it spreads to the rest of the population. In a way, the J6ers were like the early adopters. They could see exactly what was going on. I mean, we all could see. I
Yeah.
mean, let's be, anybody who says that, that's the big lie, they're the liars.
Yeah.
Okay, because I mean, who was fooled? We went to sleep when they stopped the count. No state in the history of the United States, once they started counting the ballots, no state ever stopped before. It didn't matter if it was during a war, it didn't matter if it was hurricanes, it didn't matter, nothing mattered. No state stopped the count. And then all of a sudden you got four swing states where Trump is well ahead, all stopped the count at the same time. And oh, what, isn't that a coincidence? How stupid do they think we are that we were going to fall for that? But didn't matter to them because they knew what their next steps were. They knew not to just rig the election, but that they had to also control the narrative after the rigging of the election. And so, if you were to go and get all of your early adopters that want the iPhone and arrest them all before they could buy the iPhone, the product would fail because there would be nobody that that slice of our population, the people that will actually buy these things early, would be gone. And if without early adopters, the product will fail. In fact, this is a well-known business principle that if you don't get a sufficient percentage of early adopters, your product will fail. So that was what it was all about, to get rid of these early adopters, to get rid of the people that saw that our election was stolen, that
Mhm.
our election was rigged. Our country is what's being stolen and was stolen for 4 years. I mean, that's the biggest theft in the history of the world,
I agree. Yeah.
and getting these J6ers is all part and parcel of it. Going after lawyers like Stephanie Lampert and Matt DePerno and charging them with criminal offenses like they did Tina Peters. That's all part of it. Uh, all these different elements. And that's why I tie in the idea of the sex change, the prerogatives and programs, basically, to hone in on young children that are impressionable, that want the attention. And so,
Yeah, excellent points about J6. I was there that day and saw a lot of anomalies like you were talking about. Later, I was at a trial for Cindy Young, who was one of the people that got pushed in. She's an elderly woman, very, very sweet person. Didn't do anything. All the video just showed her wandering around asking, "How do I get back out of here?" And then they took her to court, and I couldn't believe it. And so I went. I supported her. I had her on several shows and. I was there for a trial, and I could not believe the injustice at that trial. Oh, and so
in-
thank you so much for sticking up for the J6ers, and of course President Trump for pardoning them. But wow, you're right. So that early adoption coming in hard and crushing any of the people that were talking about the election fraud. And now, just now, I'm starting to see how it's starting to really be revealed. It's taken this long. It's crazy.
right, because they're that good, they're that smart, they're that clever. I mean, frankly, we wouldn't have. I mean, some of your audience may be asking, how could there be election fraud? We got Donald Trump as the president. How did he get elected if these machines are doing what Ticktin says they're doing? And so there's an answer for that because, frankly, the machines didn't do it in 2024 because of people like Patrick Byrne, who worked together with somebody at the Department of Defense that basically went into the computers in a data center in Belgrade, Serbia, and knocked out that data center. That would have been controlling our machines.
Wow.
So, that's how Donald Trump is elected because there was no interference from that data center. Otherwise, those extra 8 million votes that Biden got, Kamala Harris would have got. In
Wow.
fact, Kamala Harris was sure she was going to win. That's
Yeah.
why she was so devastated because she knew she was going to win because the fix was in.
Yeah. Same with Hillary. She was convinced she was going to win too. She was
Yeah.
not happy.
Yeah, but their system wasn't as sophisticated at that time. It's gotten much more sophisticated very quickly. And at this point, they don't even need to be able to corrupt the voter rolls in order to make it all work,
Really?
according to some experts that I've spoken to.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that was one of the things that we covered at the last fraud conference. That was the amount of fraud that's out there right now is it's staggering, and across the world. It's happening across the world too. So it's almost like, the United States, if we can get control of that fraud, we could help the rest of the world. And I think that's why a lot of people look to America these days.
Well, we need to, because if we lose this, we lose everything. The whole world is going to be gone. There'll be no beacon of light. There'll be no freedom of speech, no freedom of assembly, no freedom of any kind. We'll all be controlled. And, then there's also the ideas of what they want to do to the rest of the population. Apparently, we're not really needed.
No,
So,
that's why they brought in all of the illegal migrants to replace us. So,
well,
uh,
no, no, I mean, in terms of what the World Economic Forum wants to do,
all right, yeah,
people like Bill Gates who want to see no more than 500 million people on the planet,
good point.
so they want to kill 15 out of 16 people on Earth.
Hmm.
And, you know, and I'm not sure if you realize what the COVID shots did. I don't know that you got the COVID shot or not, but
No, I didn't. I had my channel knocked down quite a bit, warning people about that. And, we're talking about free speech. So that's one of the reasons why I really appreciate your pushing on that as hard as you are. We have gotten them back to a certain extent. We're still monitored. We still can't talk about certain things, but, yeah, I went through 17 different YouTube channels. At one time, I had a 250,000 subscribers, built it back up, got it knocked down again. They just, for like, I think 2 years, if my name was on a YouTube video, it would get taken down. So we've come a long way, but we still have a long way to go.
no, we can go backwards very,
Sure.
very quickly as well. And that may be in the cards.
Oof.
There are people like Todd Callender, really bright guy, right up to speed in terms of the viruses that could be released,
Yeah.
that they're now putting together,
Hmm.
um, which would have, there is something called antibody dependent enhancement. Have you ever heard of that?
What is it again?
Antibody dependent enhancement.
No.
Well, in 2002, we had SARS. And these COVID viruses, they only infect humans and cats. I'm not sure if there's anything else, supposedly bats, but cats, things in the cat family. Remember when COVID was going on, there was a tiger in the zoo, and you hear that it got infected, and uh, so members of the cat family. So in 2002, when we had SARS, they made a vaccine for that, and they used ferrets for the laboratory animals to deal with it, and uh, the I don't know how many hundreds of or thousands of ferrets that they used, but there must have been a large number of them. Apparently, the side effects didn't really bother them too much, and there was some efficacy to the vaccine. But when they were later exposed to a different COVID virus, the antibodies acted backwards to what they normally do. Normally, they kill the virus. They gobble them up or deal with them. I'm not sure how, other than to basically gobble them up. But once you've had the vaccination, your antibodies actually work backwards, and it allows the viruses to get through the cell walls
Oof.
where they normally have a difficulty. That's the hardest part for the virus's cycle, is to get through the cell walls. Once they're in the cell, then all the amino acids that are part of the RNA and DNA in the cell are all available and can be then taken apart and reassembled so that they mirror the DNA of the virus. You know, viruses are like cells; they have DNA. Uh, they are life, uh, but they don't have a cell structure. They just have a form of a protein shield or coating. Uh, uh, but meanwhile, so once they get into the cell and they can then use all the RNA and DNA in the cell like a smorgasbord, and then out come all the replicated viruses, and then they all get into cells. And then they out come all the ones that they multiply to be, and they all get into cells. It's a geometric progression,
Wow.
and it leads to something called a cytokine storm,
Hmm.
which leads to multiple organ failure and death. And when they exposed all of these vaccinated ferrets, they all died. And that's when they realized there was another mechanism. They figured it out, you know, and they gave it the name ADE, or antibody dependent enhancement.
Hmm.
And then when I've had, you know, I had a lot of information coming to me. I still do, because for 9 months I was the one marshaling the evidence on January 6th, directly reporting to the president. And um, from what you know, I believe me, I saw a lot of things, things that didn't even have to do with J6.
Wow. I
For
bet.
people that thought that I could get information to the president, which I could and often did.
Excellent.
Depending, you know, like if I thought it was something that I should pass on or not, and with certain rules that I made for myself. So I can't recommend people. I don't tell I don't make suggestions to the president as who would be a good candidate to be endorsed. You know, I don't give them my opinions because
Right.
everybody's got opinions. I just pass on information. So I did get to see a video, but that person didn't leave it with me. They felt it was too dangerous for
Wow.
them to
Hmm.
leave that with me. But that was a meeting of individuals in the World Economic Forum. It was you know, it was like a guy teaching class for all these new members, uh, and what he was saying was what we needed was a means of reducing the population, which is a euphemism for the greatest mass murder in history
Right.
ever, by far. And he said what we needed was a means of reducing the population without violence. And then he said, and we have it. Now we have it. So, you know, you wonder what were they talking about? And then when you look at the vaccination and everything surrounding it, where there was massive information that was controlling it. I mean, why in the world do they need to give a 6-month-old the vaccination or a 5-year-old the vaccination? I mean, children weren't getting it, and if they
Right.
did get it, it was gone the next day, and they weren't transmitting it even if they had it. So, you know, they didn't need to have the shots, but yet it was pushed and pushed and pushed. Why?
Yeah, I think the reason why they got the kids vaccinated, because there was a law that was passed during Reagan's time frame, I believe, where if the children were approved to get the vaccination, then the companies couldn't be sued. Um,
Well, they built in protections
right.
in the legislation right away for this, for COVID. You know, they couldn't be sued anyway.
Wow. Hmm.
So, you know, so is it possible that the motivation was to make sure that that seed of death of ADE was basically put into as many people as possible? Because I
Yeah.
believe that it's about 6 billion worldwide.
Goodness, I mean, you've got it. Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
7% of the population here in the United States got at least one shot. So it's pretty concerning. Uh,
right. But if
the
that's right, if I'm right about that, and Todd Callender, if he's right about that,
Yeah,
and others,
he's a
okay,
good man.
and
Yeah.
then you know the effects of this thing can wear off in time. So they need to move quickly, and they have an agenda of 2030.
Right.
So I wouldn't be terribly surprised to see another virus get released. And in that regard, I recommend to you and your readers that you get a really good supply of two things, ivermectin
Hmm.
and zinc.
Excellent. Excellent recommendation. I totally agree. Yeah, and that's been one of the things that I was recommending. Make your own hydroxychloroquine, your own get a lot of ivermectin. There's it's still hard to get it. They've really locked it down.
Well,
There's a couple sources that I've used in the past, and they're no longer available. So they come in and if someone's making it available, they'll come in and shut them down.
there's Simone Gold has a kind of a I'm not sure whether it's a charity or what it is, but it's like $10 a month or something like that, and she will provide the ivermectin whatever person needs.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah, so I'd look her up,
Yeah,
Dr. Simone Gold. She's an MD.
very good. Thank you. Thank you for that recommendation. Now, we see Mitch McConnell. He's been out for a few weeks. We don't know what's going on with him. Laura Loomer said that, her sources said that he was brain dead. He was never coming back. And then we hear John Thune saying, "Yeah, I talked to him. He's doing well." It's like, uh, and the Save America Act is, it's up to the Senate to really get that passed, and those guys have been sitting on it. So I agree. I think we're in a very particular situation where if we don't get a good election or the guarantee that we're going to have a good election in the midterms, some executive order or something has to stop it until we can get hold of it.
Well, there's a nightmare scenario for the
Yeah.
midterms. And the nightmare scenario is this: there's 22 Republican senators that are up for re-election. If these machines can basically change the vote,
Yeah.
which it can, I promise you, I assure you that they can.
Oh, yeah.
And if they have the will to do it and the audacity, the nerve, the gall to do it, which they have, we know because they did 2020 with no hesitation.
Hmm.
And they could make some kind of a fuss beforehand that they could blame the results on. Uh, they could get enough senators to be able to remove anyone the House impeaches, and which is 67.
Hmm.
Okay, they need two-thirds. So imagine if that were to take place. Imagine that they would have such an ability to do that. Then, what happens? The election is November 3rd. We find out about it November 4th. 62 days later, and it's a fast 62 days where nothing happens because you got Thanksgiving, you got Christmas, you got New Year's. It's not really a time of year when things are really moving. And 62 days later, they're in their chambers being sworn in on January 5th, 2027. That's what's going to happen. So the
Hmm.
first thing they're going to do is they're going to elect their speaker. And in the House, the speaker is no doubt going to be Hakeem Jeffries.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody doubts that. Then the next order of business is impeachment.
Hmm.
And everybody figures they're going to indeed impeach Donald Trump. But they're thinking short-sightedly, okay? They're going to impeach Donald Trump and J.D. Vance together.
Right.
And then once that happens, and after they impeach him, it goes to the Senate. Senate removes him. Who's the president of the United States?
Hmm. Hakeem Jeffries.
Hakeem Jeffries.
Yeah.
Very scary scenario
Yeah.
because
And
that happens.
that
Well,
almost happened with Nancy Pelosi. That would have been another nightmare if that had gone through. So yeah, we're facing that once again. It's crazy. Uh,
yeah. So that means that everybody's got to get out and vote. Now I know it sounds crazy because I'm saying, we've got these machines that are in play, but at the same time, if we can't actually win the vote fair and square, then it won't make any difference. Because we can deal with the issues of the machines. Things can happen
yeah.
if this nightmare scenario occurs. I don't think that the president is going to just let himself get kicked out of office when he sees that the elections are being manipulated by China. I mean, that I think sooner or later the president's going to have to stand up and say, no, we're making some radical changes here. This is a real emergency, and we need to deal with it.
Very good.
Okay, and I know that the story is out there, that this is what I told the president. Uh, no, we talked about different things, and I'm not going to talk about what we did talk about, but I can tell you this is not something that I spoke to the president about at this time.
And it's almost like, we're fighting an enemy right now, and you don't want to give them a heads up of what we're going to do. So it could be a last minute thing. Uh, as a former Navy SEAL and CIA, you don't tell the enemy what you're going to do. You just spring it on them. So it seems to be the way that President Trump has masterfully, done a lot of things going and has won a lot of things because he's done that. So I'm just very, observant. I don't get too wrapped up in this has got to happen. It doesn't need to happen now because I remember when Arizona, I used to live in Arizona, and we had election fraud happen there where the voting machines, stopped on the day of election because we told everybody's like, day of elections, go in because they're going to manipulate the mail-in ballots if you mail them in. So everybody went to the, vote, and they had the machines compromised because they knew that's what we're going to do. So you have to be very careful, with revealing information.
Yeah, but all I can speak of is theory. Um, the president doesn't call me and confide in me and tell me what he's going to do.
Right.
Okay, so I'm not giving any private information out. If I did have such information, it would never get discussed.
So Professor Clement, he's like you. He's very much for trials, uh, military tribunals, and sending people to Guantanamo. But that really doesn't have to happen. We can have JAG officers, conduct those in the states. Is that correct?
Well, if there's martial law,
Okay.
if there's military law, then military tribunals will prevail.
All right.
Okay, we had that happen in the United States after Abraham Lincoln was shot.
Mm,
Uh, his whole investigation, all of that was done by military. That was military tribunals,
mm.
and uh, that's the way that would have to happen. But if it has to happen, if we have to suspend our government or suspend the election process in order to fix it, we're going to need to do that. And frankly, I don't know whether the president's given thought to this or not. But I know that that was a consideration after the 2020 election. And we know that he didn't invoke any emergency police action at that time. But I don't think that, I think at that time he realized somehow he could get back in. But after this one, there'll be no way to get back in. The whole process would just never be corrected.
Yeah.
Because I will tell you that these people are smart. They never make the same mistake twice.
Right.
And since their computers were compromised by letting them overheat, by basically turning off the fans and letting the chips cook, and that's what they did. They melted the chips, and apparently that's what Israel did. The same kind of procedure when they compromised the centrifuges in Iran. I'm not sure if you remember that there was this.
Right.
Yes,
Hacked
that
it.
yeah. So it's the same kind of deal, and that's what they did then, and that's what they did to get Donald Trump, not to get him elected, but just to make sure that nobody's getting on. The machines weren't going to change the results.
Wow. Hmm. Now, it's surprising to me the mail-in ballot situation that we've seen in California, unfortunately. The justices, Supreme Court justices, got that case where mail-in ballots, we thought that they were going to like throw it out. Yeah, they can't have mail-in ballots. You're going to have to have same day. Only mail-in ballots for certain like military or certain, people that can't make it, whatever. That's the way it's always been here in America. But the Supreme Court justices allowed 5 days of mail-in ballots, as long as it was postmarked the day of the election. And we all know that's where the fraud comes in. That's what took President Trump out in 2020. So what are your thoughts on that? It's very frustrating.
Well, I mean, there are more than one method is going on, and we were too big to rig in terms of the ballot stuffing.
Hmm.
That was true for what happened in 2024 because that did occur. But the machines actually, I mean, I understand in New York from Andrew Paquette, I understand there's about 2 million modified duplicates.
Hmm.
So what is a modified duplicate? So there's only one Peter Ticktin in the county where I register. But there could be four, there could be eight Peter Ticktins,
Wow. Yeah.
could be two. And all the others will have my name, but maybe my middle name would be turning into a middle initial. That changes a little bit, but it has my exact social security number, has my driver's license number, has my home address, has my phone number, my cell phone number. The one thing that's always different though is that they have different voter identification numbers, and each one of them can vote, even though there's a lot of aspects of each one that are duplicate. They're all in the archives. They're not in the list that you normally get. They're in the archives. Everything's in the archives. Nothing ever leaves. Okay, when somebody dies and they know they need to remove them from the voter list, they don't delete them. What they do is uh, they put them in the archives. And these machines can come, and let's just say there's 2 million of these make-believe people that are just copies of real people. And then those machines can come in and they can pull these people out of our archives, put them in the regular part of it, vote them, pick them up again, and throw them into the archives again. And we know that this is what happened in Bexar County. It's spelled with an X in the middle, Baxer County in Texas, where Weston Martinez was running. And he ordered he requested a list of the people that voted on the first day, and he did it on the first day, and they gave him a list. And you got all these duplicates, 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 and they're all like algorithmically separated in terms of, maybe every 11 or whatever in terms of the tax ID numbers. So we have proof that they were manipulating the election. The next day, he asked for the same list, and by then they fixed it. And so he got a list, but because they substituted out people that didn't actually vote. I mean, that's how sophisticated these programs are.
Wow.
Okay, and that's where they come in. So the ballot stuffing is nothing in comparison to what the machines do.
Hmm. Yeah, it's a mess. Uh, we can't have satisfaction against all this craziness out there, the possible upcoming new, bioweapon attack. When I was in the SEAL teams and the CIA, we knew that the next war was going to be fought with bioweapons, and sure enough, that's what we saw. So I think I agree with you. There's probably going to be something greater unless we get control of this, uh, you know, crazy people that are trying to control our world and our country.
Yeah, and it is craziness. You know, it's kind of like if you're on a lifeboat and you got the two really big guys on the lifeboat, and there's only enough room for enough food, let's say for two. Um, you can pretty well figure the two big guys are going to throw everybody else overboard so that they can survive. And that's sort of like the way the World Economic Forum is looking at things.
Wow.
They think that our global warming situation is so horrible that we're all going to die. I mean, you've heard even crazy, you know, politicians talk about this and so on. And they do have their agenda and they do have their date of 2030. You know, they want to have everything done by.
Mm,
So, you know, we need to recognize that. We need to know our enemy and understand what they're thinking. So you got to understand global warming just in order to understand the way our enemy is thinking and what they're planning.
mm. Very good points. Wow. It's again an honor and absolutely incredible information you always bring in, uh, Mr. Peter Ticktin. So thanks a lot. And legalbrains.com. Is there any other way that people can reach you?
Well, that's the best way. Or my email address is just my initials, PT, like PT Barnum, PT Boat,
Okay.
uh, or Papa Tango, PT at legalbrains.com.
Excellent. Excellent. All
Okay.
right. So lots of luck in your future cases because I know you're fighting for us and you're making a difference out there. Uh, Best of luck to you, and thank you for all that you're doing, and we'll see what happens in the next several months. It's going to be very exciting.
Oh, yeah. The next 4 or 5 months. I mean, we're only 4 months away from election day,
Yeah,
and we don't know what kind of civil unrest is going to now be developing. We don't know what they're going to do. But
absolutely. Good point.
but they're not going to sit still. They've got to make it look like the election was fairly swung in that direction.
Yes.
And they're very clever. They're very smart people.
Mm. Yep.
They're
And
evil. They're evil. Don't get me
evil.
wrong.
Absolutely. Psychopaths. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thanks so much for your insights. That it definitely helps a lot. And once you get these insights, you can never look at everything else the same way again. So you've done a
That's
great
true.
service. So thank you so much, Peter.
My pleasure.
Appreciate it.
It's really my pleasure. Good being here. Thank you
Thank
for having me.